Click the links to join the channel here or over at Subscribestar. Five Nights at Freddy is upsetting these soy people because it turned out to be a very, very decent success on a small budget, which is the way forward for Hollywood because they're not getting the return on investment they used to get. I was wondering why they're so triggered. Reading the Kotaku article, it seems so passive aggressive over just a low budget Chuck E. Cheese horror film. I kind of wondered why. And then if you read CBR, Variety, Mary Sue, Kotaku, and there's a couple other magazines, and they're all these kind of left wing magazines. And when they don't really have something to point to, they do this passive aggressive thing, which is kind of neat to see. And then if you click on the person's name and you look up, first of all, you look at the name. And then you go, let me guess what they look like, the mental image. You form that image, then you click on the name, you look them up, and you go, exactly what I suspected you look like. Why are you so miserable? Oh, because you're carrying around 100 pounds of excess baggage. Maybe you would be a little bit happier if you dialed that down. So it was weird because these soy boys, the soy boy writing this article is referring to the low score of this movie. And they go, gosh, it's so strange that it's a success. But then I clicked the link when he's talking about the low Rotten Tomatoes score. And, I don't even know if they have Chuck E. Cheese anymore. It used to be a pizza place, and it was I don't know, not video games exactly, but what do you call those things where, like, you roll a ball, like fairground type stuff? You roll a ball up an incline, and I don't know, just a bunch of, like, kids stuff, like whack-a-mole type of stuff. Anyway, but there's a discrepancy between the scores, as there usually is when there's an agenda to push. Like Black Panther's a really good example. And so is the Disney Star Wars, but kind of related, because both those franchises, you knew that there was an agenda to be pushed, and those movies were not going to be scored on their merits. And somebody did occasionally try to score the movies on the merits, and they got a cancel culture mob went after them on social media. And if you did that too often, you just get fired. So it's kind of the self-selecting echo chamber for these left-wing reviewers. They know what will happen if they gave the Disney movies low scores, or like Black Panther, there's just no way to give that a low score. But you look at both those franchises, you go, but these are just, C+, B- movies. There's nothing special about them. They're just... And Disney was not even, that was not a competent movie. Black Panther was just, okay, a straightforward Marvel movie. It's right in the middle, even below the average of what you'd expect. But why did it get such high scores? I see you're not on the same page as us. And they're trying to, you know what they're doing with all this kind of stuff. Anyway, so who really cares what the Rotten Tomatoes reviews say? Because these are all angry cat ladies and girly men who usually pay for sex. The audience score is the real score, because it's more a bell curve distribution across political ideologies, and there's less of an agenda. If you're on the right, you're going to have a right agenda, left agenda, but the collected reviews from these online digital magazines, they're all left-wing agenda. That's why there's going to be a discrepancy. So I wondered why these pussies were so triggered about this low-budget movie, and then if you go to the Bounding article, they explain it. The creators, Cawthorn, is a Christian. And then I looked at the soy person, 300 pounds, right in the article. And actually, I think everyone at Kotaku is getting up there in terms of chub. And realized that this guy was a person who would be triggered by Christianity and healthy foods and exercise. I'm trying to say he looks like a Reddit mod, or someone who writes for Kotaku and says he loves diversity as long as he doesn't have to see it. So the creator, Scott Cawthorn, refused to apologize to a woke cancel culture mob of angry Twitter vaginas after he donated some money to Donald Trump and other politicians. And his low-budget film goes on to do very well. It makes $80 million domestically, is where they take the biggest chunk of change, and $140 million total, which upsets these chubby soy boy neckbeards who desperately need to go outside and touch grass. Yikes, my guy. Bad take, friendo. Sometimes you get on Twitter with these people, and you're just honest, and they just can't believe that people still speak like this. So if the professional reviewers give this a low score, but the audience gives it high scores, it's like, well, what do you need the professional reviewers for? Doesn't it seem like they're the biased ones who are pushing a far left-wing agenda? Anyway, this movie is doing better than a lot of other Halloween movies. And let me guess, before I even look at those movies, their woke cancer that race swapped out the original characters. And this Variety article mentions the 2021 and 2022 both had Halloween movie releases from the Halloween titled franchise with Jamie Lee Curtis that started in 1978. Which, I was thinking about that Halloween movie, 78, and what a slow movie it was for nowadays short attention span. I've seen it a couple times recently, and it's just, it's in tune and in time. It hits the notes it's supposed to hit, but the pacing is so slow, and that was just 1978, and it just wouldn't fly today. People don't have those kind of attention spans, and that's kind of another reason why it's important to see movies in the theater, and it's a shame that movies are not worth going to the theater for, because you need to have all your attention directed at the screen, where if you're watching 78's Halloween at home, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a challenge for a lot of people not to have their phone in their hand or their distraction in their hand, where in the theater you just don't kind of have that thing. Anyway, so with the recent remakes or reboots or whatever we call them, the Halloween movies that were like dual released in theaters and also on, I think Paramount had the rights to those, they didn't do well, and I can only assume it was because of the diverse cancer that ruined the movies. And then they mentioned that this movie beat the latest Scream 6 movie. That movie's been around for like 20 plus years. And without even looking at Scream 6, let me guess, you probably race swap the characters. Perhaps if you didn't do that, the movies would do better. Wacky concept, I know. And the thing is, I can just guess why about a lot of these things. Like comics, movies, you go, I'm guessing you race swap the characters, or you put some like anti-blonde type of propaganda stuff in there without even knowing anything about it, because you're going to be right like 95% of the time, because that's their rate of doing, that's the correlation of them doing this kind of swapping out, and the audience is not on board with it, and then they do this passive aggressive thing against the audience. It's like, but the audience just wants the original characters. Can you give them that? No, they're all Islamophobic. Okay, good luck with that. So the other reason the toxic left-wing media is triggered is because the Twitter basement obese SGWs were calling the creator a Christian fundamentalist. Facts not in evidence for that. And someone who supports a crypto-fash Indian politician and pushes anti-trans stuff and something about Dennis PragerU. They think those are all, I guess, far right or something. So just the standard insanity from Twitter, coping, seething, and dilating crowd. They think that Tulsi Gabbard is fashionable because she teamed up with PragerU, who they also think is fashionable because these Twitter kids are just insane. So they attempted to cancel this $20 million movie based on the Chuck E. Cheese thing. So the creator Cawthorn goes on Reddit. I mean, Reddit is insane to start with, to talk about the threats he had received from these mentally ill left-wing commie kids and why he thought Trump was the best choice. And he didn't apologize, which is the thing to do. You never apologize to globalists because nothing satisfies them. They'll always move the goalposts. There's no point in apologizing. Nothing is ever good enough for them. They want the movies and the comics and the whatevers to be nothing more than Pravda-level left-wing propaganda. And you look at them and you go, but that's not going to sell. Repeatedly, this type of far left agenda comes out and it doesn't find an audience. And even the people who are saying they want it don't go support the movies because nobody does. I mean, it's the same dozen left wing movies that have come out that nobody's on board with. And they seem to think, yeah, it's okay. The movies just need to be out there. But this isn't socialism. You can't force these people to see these movies just yet. The movies have to, people have to want to go see the movies, and they want to see the original characters. And it's the same old thing. You go, listen, if you want all these diverse characters, you're going to have to write something new. And you look at these left-wing kids and they just can't do it. Or if they did write something new, it's like that probably wouldn't have an audience either, because that's not how people think. People are very tribal. They want to see specific things. They want to see their stories represented. And no matter what, who was that Disney executive? Oh, gosh, he was saying something about, if we don't make all this diversity, we're leaving money on the table. And you go, but all the facts don't support that assertion. None of them. The facts support that people are tribal. People want to see specific things. They want to see black. If you're black, you want to see Black Panther. That's the way people think. And that works for every tribe. And there's a dozen movies that have shown, oh, hey, how did all these woke Charlie's Angels movies do? Or Terminator, and you get the idea. It's like, you look at these people, it's like, it just feels like you're burning money which Disney is very much on board with. The thing is, even trying to answer these people is pointless. Just ignore them. Don't give them any validation with attention. The people you're arguing with are literally mentally ill. This person right here, professor of critical wraith theory. They're open about how crazy they are and all the pills they take, and yet they think they know how to run a country or make movies. And you look at their ideas for movies or for comics, and comics is a good example because they're on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and you look at the comics they're trying to sell, and they're just insane. Like obese, diverse BLT people, women, obese, fat women with beard type of stuff, and some kind of like comic, and you look and it's like, so $1,200 you raised. Congratulations. It just it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of people who are on board this kind of stuff. Istaphobe says what? I don't think you're dealing with the real world. It just feels like this crazy is spreading. Anyway, happy Halloween. Don't apologize to leftists. Don't even argue with them. Don't just ignore them. Just block them because they're crazy and they don't seem to live in the real world where they think who is that oh god, I forget that woman, Nikki whatever, is a far right somebody because she thinks or Tulsi Gabbard, she thinks I guess men aren't women or something, and Dennis Prager is far right also, and everyone is far right, and everyone is to the right of Stalin, Engels, and Lenin, and Marx is far right. Anyway, happy Halloween, and I'll see you guys all next episode.